Good afternoon. I'm David Summers. I'm the publisher of the Long Beach Post and Long Beach Business Journal. Thank you for joining us for our daily live chat. Today, we are talking with Mollie Beck. Mollie is the current president of Long Beach Rotary. We're talking today about Rotary, but also Rotary is going through a lot of what a lot of civic organizations and clubs are going through in our city right now, how to respond to this unique challenges that we're facing in the coronavirus pandemic, how to plan for the future and continue to serve our communities. So President Mollie, I am a fellow Rotarian. Thank you for joining us here today. And I wanted to just start by hoping that you can tell us a little bit more about Long Beach Rotary and how Rotarians are serving the community.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me, David. I'm excited to be here because our club is pretty amazing. It's always nice to share. Rotary itself is an international organization made up of over 1.2 million people around the world, over 35,000 clubs. In every nook and cranny, you can find a spot to put a club. And we're proud to be the 37th largest one in the world. The Rotary website, rotary.org, refers to Rotary like this: we provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace throughout the fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. The motto is service above self.
Mollie, I want to let everyone know out there that if anyone has any questions about Rotary, about the club, about the work of the club, or any questions about the topics we're talking about today, they can put those right in the comment feeds on social media where they're watching. We're happy to take comments. I'm happy to ask them to President Mollie. Thank you for that overview about the size and scope and mission. But I'm always fascinated about the size of Long Beach Rotary. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the programs and services of the club, how it does serve our community?
Yes, we are almost 300 members, about 285 as we speak right now. We are very unique in that we have two separate foundations in addition to the club. We have a scholarship foundation and we have the Long Beach Rotary Charitable Foundation. The Scholarship Foundation provides approximately $320,000 in scholarships to Long Beach City and Long Beach State students annually. Wow. And the Charitable Foundation is focused on the Long Beach community. It's designed to support youth and education. And this year we donated around $70,000 that stayed right here in the Long Beach community. So that's a big overview of the two charitable foundations, but we also have projects. Do you want to hear about those or you want me to wait?
Absolutely. Tell us about the projects.
Okay. Some of those are Reading by 9. We raise money and have been providing books for over 20 years to elementary school, mostly elementary school children. This year we raised about $60,000 from our club members. All of this money that I'm talking about, all of these donations come from the generosity of individual members in the club. They choose which programs suit them, and those are the ones they support. We have a Rotary Reads program for Rotarians and friends of Rotary who read to second grade students in the elementary schools, and that's a fun and lovely project to get involved in. We have a program called Teaching Ethics to Kids. For our centennial, this is one of the programs that we developed in conjunction with the Long Beach Unified School District. It's an ethics-based curriculum based on our 4-way test that's used in middle school classes. And we'll circle back maybe to the 4-way test, right?
Yep.
We have Camp Enterprise, again, for I think it's over 25 years now. We take about 60 high school juniors up to YMCA Camp Oaks for 3 days, and we teach them about business plans and business ethics and team building. And that's a fabulous program to be involved in. I've done that almost every year since I've been in Rotary. Last year, we had a speaker who shared with us that college students had food insecurities. They could find a way to get themselves to school and a college of all things, but they didn't know where their next meal was coming from. So we set up a program called Feeding the Future, and we packaged 4,500 100 meals and delivered them, split them up between Long Beach City College and Long Beach State to be provided to the food insecure students. That's a sample of what we do locally. Internationally, our club also supports by funding installation of water wells in Mozambique. We raise money for our Rotary Peace Initiative. We are investigating ways to help the Navajo Nation, and the biggie, we are eradicating polio worldwide. So those are some of the tips of the iceberg, as you can well imagine, David.
That's an impressive list. Mollie, you mentioned the four-way test a little bit. You know, in journalism, we talk often about the ethics that drive our work, and we live in a day and age where anyone can start a website and call it a news site and say they're a journalist. But that's not the foundation of how we operate and the great sense of responsibility that we govern ourselves by. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the four-way test. It was something that really drew me to Rotary, about how it guides our personal and professional interactions. Tell us more about the four-way test and what it means as a Rotarian.
The four-way test is a test used for ethical conduct. It was adopted in 1948 for Rotarians worldwide. What we do is we apply the following 4 questions to all the things we say and do, whether it's business, personal, whatever. And those 4 questions are: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And when you apply those, the answers to your questions usually become pretty clear. But additionally, when you're doing business with another Rotarian anywhere in the world, you know that they too are applying those principles to their business practices. It's comforting.
We're speaking today with President Mollie Beck, president of Long Beach Rotary, one of the great civic organizations in our city. Mollie shared with us a list of the things that the club does both locally around the city for students and around the world. We also want to talk about this year and the challenges of this year. Mollie, as the current president, how has this year been different for your year versus your predecessors?
Well, we tend to be a club steeped in tradition, and we meet every single week. We're very social and we're very publicly active. We've been meeting on the Queen Mary for several years now, running our meetings with a fairly standard format, easy to adapt to the new speakers and the events that we have going on, and engaging in about any activity a Rotarian brings to us that we can get support from. But then everything stopped at the same time. Yep. We could not meet. We could not gather for activities. And we started to wonder what the future meant for the club. The longer this quarantine went on, the more sketchy things got. Yep. But we were really fortunate in that we were already working on long range planning. So we just had to amp that up a little bit.
We're getting no questions yet, but if anyone does have a question for Long Beach Rotary President Mollie Beck, please do put that on our comments. You'll be glad to know that many fellow Rotarians are sharing their kudos right now. And with that in mind, Mollie, the next question is, can you recall a specific moment when you realized that things were going to be very different from the club? Was there a day when it's like, okay, this is different. This is going to change everything. What was that realization moment for you?
Well, on March 8th, people were starting to talk about socially distancing and not shaking hands. And everybody who comes to a Rotary meeting is greeted with a handshake or a hug before they come to the meeting. So I would very tongue-in-cheek suggested at that March 8th meeting that we come up with clever little ways to greet each other that didn't involve shaking hands and hugging or touching. You know, maybe the fist bump or just a good old hi-de-ho. By March 18th, I had to make the decision to cancel the meeting. And that broke my heart. But there really wasn't time to stop. You know, there wasn't a wall. There was, we weren't going to meet. but what were we going to do instead? And you just keep moving.
Right.
We're people of action, so I had to act.
And as you and I were talking about before we started, that your term as president is coming up towards the end of June. And as you're starting to look towards the end of your term and wrapping up that term, looking back over the tumultuous nature of these last couple months, are there things or accomplishments that you're particularly proud of that the club has achieved?
Well, yes, I'm particularly proud of a project that we did called the Face Shield Project.
Mhm.
We raised the money and assembled face shields, about 4,000 of them. The Long Beach Yacht Club was kind enough to give us space that we could actually do assembly where we were socially distanced, properly apart from each other. And so we assembled face shields, and 3,700, more than 3,700 of those shields went to medical facilities right here in Long Beach. And we're really proud that we were able to respond. Rotarians were sort of chomping at the bit. You know, they're like I said, they're people of action. They were ready to do something, but figuring out what that something was a bit of a challenge. Unfortunately, the district that our club is in had picked up this face shield project, and we were able to do our part. So that made a big difference.
That was a great project. Congratulations to everyone for such a great contribution to the community for getting that done. We're speaking with President Mollie Beck, President of Long Beach Rotary. If you have any questions or comments, please do add them in our social media comments feed, and we'll talk about them here. Mollie, I want to talk more about leadership and transition during this challenging time. Talk about the efforts by the club's board, by your board, and the incoming president and presidents elected to really plan for the future. What does that future planning really look like? And how do you even plan for that kind of uncertainty, not knowing when you will be able to meet again? How do you prepare for something like that?
I don't think you do prepare for something like that. You prepare for the future of your club. Back in March, myself, Matt Kinley, who follows me as president, and Dennis Smith, who follows Matt. And then in December, it was announced that Alfredo Velasco would follow Dennis. We all started meeting and doing long range planning and figuring out what we wanted our club to look like. We've just had our 100th anniversary in 2017. And so we're looking at the next 100 years, but we're also looking at the next 100 days. What do we want to do? What do we want it to look like? What do we look like when we grow up? And so that was already in place, and that mattered a lot. Then with COVID-19, we just had to knuckle down a little bit more. So with the assistance of my board and Matt's board, we are poised to implement a pretty solid upcoming year. But what we did was the four of us got together along with our executive director, Madrid Zimmerman, and we talked about what changes were inevitable, what we needed to do. Then we are fortunate enough to have massive brain trust in our past presidents. So each one of us took about 6 or 7 names and called our past presidents to find out what input they had, and also to ask their blessings for our plans. And that was remarkably well received. Then yesterday, during what was our regularly scheduled weekly meeting, we devoted the entire meeting to telling the club members what we knew, what maybe we didn't know, and how we were going to move forward. It was important. The club belongs to the members, and it's important that the members are involved. We're certainly the leaders, but the club membership is everything. It's everything to us, and they needed to know that we were working, and we were working on their behalf, and we were figuring things out, and we will survive. Bright and sunny tomorrow.
I want to jump ahead a little bit and talk about the members. You talked about how it was presented to members at yesterday's regular meeting. What has the reaction been from club members? Are there any common concerns or common questions about the plans in the future?
Not yet. What we've been getting is fabulous support. People are lovely. You know, we've just got some of the best best people in town in our club. And we really haven't gotten anything that we hadn't thought of.
Hmm.
We are holding a town hall meeting Monday night for our club so that they have an opportunity. It's going to be a Zoom meeting with all the microphones on, so be afraid. It will generate an interesting conversation, but the idea is to open it up so that people have the opportunity to ask questions, make suggestions. We're all in this together. We'll figure it out together.
We've got about 10 minutes left with President Mollie Beck from Long Beach Rotary. Mollie, we've got a couple of very thoughtful questions that have come in, but I'm going to hold those to the end because I think that they're two good questions to wrap up our conversation. You talked about Matt Kinley and Dennis Smith, Alfredo Velasco, the upcoming presidents. That's a pretty deep bench of succession planning. The club selecting future presidents several years in advance. How has that long-term planning really played a role in the long-term planning of the club? Has that been helpful? Has it been a hindrance trying to predict what Alfredo may face years from now? What's the importance of planning that far ahead to a club?
Well, we're a big club, and we're a club that's been around more than 103 years. We need to sustain that. There's so much that happens in our club that it takes just about that long to learn everything. So we select people who are engaged and we think will be excellent presidents, but they still need to ramp up. And it provides a great opportunity for them. But our club is also unique in that there's something that I'll call presidential preference. Everybody brings their own personality to their term. So the questions that we're answering are about our membership. Should we offer different membership options, membership plans? How do we get more younger members involved? Let's talk technology. Boy, that changed pretty quick. We were working with a microphone and 2 screens and a couple of handheld mics, and now we're Zooming all across the country. So we need people to help us with those sorts of things, but each year will still be unique, and it gives the president-elect, the president nominee, and the president designee, as they are each named, plenty of opportunity to think about how they want to do what they want to do in their year.
We got a couple more questions for you, and then 2 that have come in. Mollie, a personal question is what do you think the future will look like for Long Beach Rotary? How is next year and years down the line going to look different? What are your personal feelings?
I think it's pretty exciting. As I said, we're steeped in tradition, and we're going to be making changes that may have been more challenging to make because of those traditions. I think we're a club in transition. We have some members who've been in the club for years and years and years and years and years, and our demographic is changing. We're bringing in younger members with different ideas and different ways to do things, and that's very exciting. But nobody can argue with the fact that we can't do it the way it's always been done. So that opens up the opportunity for Matt and Dennis and Alfredo to bring in bigger new ideas than perhaps one of the programs that we do is Operation Santa Claus, where we adopt families at Christmas time. And that was brought to us by a Rotarian. That's a great program, but it's much smaller scale. These guys are going to have an opportunity to shift the future. It's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's going to be a busy next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a busy next year for much of our city.
I think so. Yeah.
The other personal question that I wanted to ask is, so as the leader of a major civic organization, do you have any advice or lessons learned to share with the leaders of other similar organizations and clubs? I think, for example, of like Sharhiga at the Century Club and other organizations that serve our community in different ways. What counsel would you give them from what you've experienced and learned?
I think it would be to focus on your mission. Don't let COVID distract you. Yes, we all have to make changes, but it shouldn't be the impetus. I've tried really hard. I try not even to say COVID to a Rotarian because I think if I don't call it by name, it might go away. Will be offended and leave us all alone. And I don't want people to focus on the negative. I want them to think about the future. So if an organization always, I believe in the four-way test, applies the four-way test and focuses on the mission, then I think that's the difference. I think the future lies with every individual who's drawn to community service. It gives them the opportunity to open up and come up with ideas and suggestions about what they want to see for the future of their organization.
I really appreciate that answer. I'm going to turn to the two questions that we've gotten from folks out there, and we do have time. If any other questions for Mollie, President Mollie Beck of Long Beach Rotary, please do send them in. But the two questions that I want to ask you before I ask my last question, Mollie, one is, this came from our newsroom. People keep asking the Long Beach Post for ways that they can volunteer or give back. And they're finding that it's tough to find places to safely contribute time and effort instead of money. Do you have any suggestions for people that are looking to support and help their community, but not sure where to go?
Boy, I understand that challenge. It has been tough. I think the only suggestion I have is to stay local. You know, work with your neighbors, work with the people that you already know and care about. Call them, stay in touch. The hardest time for any of us after an upheaval of any kind is when things start to slow down, when people start to get lost in the shuffle. And if there's one thing that this community of Long Beach has shown is their compassion. Tuesday night, we had a saxophonist playing on the corner. A couple weeks before that, a violinist. There was like 80 people who showed up. We were all socially distanced and enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm meeting more people in my neighborhood than I even knew existed because they're home. They're not at work during the day. So you can't go wrong by reinforcing that sense of community and building off.
That's a great sentiment and counsel to our community. We got a question in from a Rotarian, Mollie, who says, I love being a Rotarian and we love welcoming new members. Mollie, would you please share how somebody can join the Rotary Club of Long Beach? How could somebody get engaged with the club right now? What should they do?
Well, if you know a Rotarian, ask them to bring you to a meeting or Zoom into a meeting. We're actually getting prospective members who are participating by Zoom, which is pretty exciting. We introduced a new member last week. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact us through our office. We're fortunate enough, because of the size of our club, we have a full-time executive director and a part-time assistant to her. Her name is Madrid Zimmerman, and we can answer questions for you through the office. The thing is that it's a club that you're invited to join. And so it's important, if you know somebody, that's the best way to do it. And if you don't, let us get to know you, and we'd be happy to talk to you about joining.
And I'm easy to find right here on the post and a fellow Rotarian. So reach out to me and I'd be happy to help as well. Great. Mollie, the last question that I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I appreciate and admire about you and your leadership is the passion at which you speak about what you're seeing and observing in our community, whether through our weekly messages, the email messages, your introductions or conclusions at our meetings. You speak with such clarity and nuance about what's going on, and I appreciate that. And my question to you is, through this crisis, as somebody who is clearly passionate about our community, what has surprised you or made you proud about our city? Not just about the club, but about our community as a whole. What have you noted, and what resonates with you right now?
I'll go back to what I said a minute ago about the compassion of people. The standing in line at the market and chatting with people you don't even know and having a friendly interaction. Waving to your neighbors, people driving down the street honking to say hello because they can't get to you to say hello, but they want you to know that they're there. I'm getting, and I am trying to do porch presents. Have you ever gotten a porch present? It used to happen when I was a child, mostly with zucchini if you had a crop. But but I've had a beautiful bouquet of roses left on my porch, and strawberries, just lovely things that perk up a person's day. You just can't beat that stuff. It's compassion. People are compassionate, and that you get to see it through something like this. That's the upside. That's the upside to the cloud. Is there's and I'm terrible with the silver lining thing. I just truly believe in it, but it's this. What a gift! What a gift! A smile from somebody.
Absolutely. I'll leave it there. President Mollie Beck, president of Long Beach Rotary, thank you for your counsel and advice to other organizations and your insights about how Rotary is planning for the future and continuing to serve our community, our education system, and communities around the world. Thank you very much to everyone for watching today, and please do join us tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, my colleague Brian Addison will be speaking with Alan Pullman from Studio 111. There's a lot going on in the urban development space locally right now, from everything from open streets to how we plan for the future. Alan's got some great insights, and we'll be sharing those with Brian tomorrow at 1 o'clock. From all of us here at the Long Beach Post and Long Beach Business Journal, President Mollie Beck, Long Beach Rotary, thank you for joining us. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. I rely on the Post a lot. Thank you.